No issue is permanent. There's got to be a way out of it.
My mum, like everybody just knew her for being happy and funny, and like everybody's got a story with my mum, like something funny that's happened. And I don't know what it was, but she just always had a way of making you feel good about yourself. Like, whenever you saw her, you just always left her feeling happier than what you were. I think she had that impact on a lot of folk. Since she went missing and stuff, it's just been a big, like, the best way to describe it's like a cloud of smoke. Like, I don't want to ever think that it's happening and it's real.
Morning, folks. Lots of familiar faces in this room, which gives me the absolute confidence that we'll deal with what we're actually going to deal with here. And this is what we're actually going to deal with. Missing person, Julie Riley. And the bottom line is there's suspicious circumstances as to her currently being missing. Our number one priority is, if at all possible, the safe recovery of Julie. Find where she is and attend to any needs that she may have. So, what could have happened to Julie? Well, she could have voluntarily absented herself for her friends and family for whatever reason, we don't know. She may have come to substantial harm or death at the hand of an as yet unknown person. We can't discount that she's been held against her will, unknown location for an unknown reason. If she has come to substantial harm or death, then why has that occurred? Has she been murdered? Potentially she could have self-harmed and she's in a place where we just can't find her. Stevie, give us a wee bit of background just about Julie, will you, please?
Julie is a 47-year-old female who lives alone. She's originally from Ayrshire. She suffers from a hypoxic brain injury where she was in hospital for 5 months.
Over the period of her life, she goes for periods without speaking to the family, but she always then gets back in touch.
Have you ever seen the woman before? No, yeah, that's fine, bud.
The 6th of February is a very significant date. It's the last day she used her bus pass.
She's never been reported missing before, albeit she's went long periods of time, but she's always come back or there's always been some kind of contact.
The purpose of today is to try and engage with the local community, gather information. I'm looking at Julie's background, I'm looking at how, as you would expect, how someone lives their life. There is nothing that I'm aware of that would lead Julie to suddenly flee or leave the area. I moved to Major Investigations in 2011. And at the start of it, when I was probably younger in service, a lot of it was around the thrill of the chase and getting that 10 seconds of energy when you've got that key piece of information that you know that that's the bit that proves this case. And probably, if you're honest, as you become more mature in the job, it's a difference that you can actually make to the victims' families in their darkest moments.
How's things been the last couple of days?
Just weird, too long.
It's getting longer, isn't it?
Bad. She's been upset this morning.
Yeah. Is it just the length of time that's worrying you a wee bit just now, is it?
I think so, aye. Other things too, but if she's no alright, how's she no been fun? That's my question, my hang now is, but if she's no alright, she would have been fun by now. Look who's all trying to fin her, look who's all the police and nobody can fin her, and that's what makes me hope so much she's alright. That's my wee clinch to hang on to. Sorry.
No, don't be daft, Lynn. How have you been, Margaret?
Not bad. My power of strength, this woman.
The two of you bounce off each other well. What you do, if one of you is struggling, the other one's there, and staying so close together is a godsend at times like this, when you're just across the road.
I just wish that she could be found one way or another. That's the position I'm in.
We're the same, and our whole inquiry is focused on that. It's finding Julie, finding out why she's missing.
Aye.
For whatever reason it may be.
I think she's lying somewhere, she's away abroad. I think all these things.
It's a million and one things every single day, and they're different every single day.
It's hard because you're wanting answers and you're waiting for answers, and I know every time I'm phoning you, your heart's going to skip a beat.
Aye. It is, and it's another week, but then that's also to keep thinking to myself, well, she's no been fun. They would have funned by now. The dogs, the helicopter, the divers, somebody would definitely have funned by now. So she might be alright.
It's a nice picture.
It is. I gave her that wee scarf.
Diary, it's dated 2017. First thing is mum's phone number, take that, so it's mum. Tuesday the 25th, due ESA. Yep. £235. 30th of January, which is Monday. Crisis Centre. Put on 30 mil. CAT team. Got put up to 40 mil.
My mum was quite ill. She was in rehab and she was in hospital for months.
And the entry for Sunday the 7th of May says Crisis Centre.
It was what she hadn't been to appointments and stuff, that's when I was like, I just knew something was up. Like, she would always go. She had a routine. She had to always do what she was supposed to be doing. She just always did. And it was weird that she wasn't going to the appointments, and I just thought maybe she'd met a guy and he was in trouble or something and she'd run away with him because she would do that kind of stuff. Like, she was daft.
More notably, Saturday the 28th, Mum coming, what's what you're doing with your something? Money? What's what you're doing with your money? Grab a seat.
Oh, thank you very much.
How's it over?
We look through the diary, the things that we're seeing all the time. It confirms that she keeps a diary of everything, her ESA, her DLA. That's in there weekly. Her cat team appointments are in there every week, her doctor's appointments, and then her diary is of what she does on a daily basis.
Everything's put in just to remind her, obviously, probably because of her brain injury.
It sounds it then, would you agree that she's almost trying to relearn
Yep.
how to do some of the basic things?
Yeah. You're getting warnings to remind myself to do something, and then you're getting the actual date. The 11th of June, you're getting the fact that it is her mum's birthday. It certainly corroborates the fact that she's family orientated.
The bottom line is we can answer the question that there's nothing in the diary that would cause us concern that or show a plan for her to disappear.
Yeah, absolutely not. 100% not. None at all.
Okay.
So we're just going to be going to a house at Shield Hall Road. This is the house of a missing person, and we're going to do a forensic examination on it. We need to build up a picture of why she's missing and how she's missing. Maybe trying to establish if there has been any violence in the house. We need to get in there and make sure that there's nothing untoward. For me today, marking our mission at the moment would be to identify any potential blood or what have you, and to get this place all photographed and get that done, and then tomorrow come up with a plan. Okay.
In a missing persons case, you're looking to go and see what you can find that might have shown that they've been injured there. Is there any blood patterns that show there's been any kind of assault? In that house, I was on my hands and knees looking for any blood staining, and I couldn't see anything at all. But as you started to look closer, I noticed some dropped blood spots, which were dilute. But it was all very disjointed, and it wasn't very obvious if anything had happened here.
Hayley has identified around the drum of the washing machine blood. But we're going to concentrate on there, and there's a wee kind of congregated bit of blood here. I'm going to need the biologist to do all the source lighting, which will give us a better idea of what we're looking at. Aye, definitely. So, all right, thanks a lot, Ali. Cheers, bye, bye. There's only a kind of small amounts of dilute blood down there. So at this stage it's really, really difficult to even interpret, you know, what's happened there. But we'll get a plan, we'll get a forensic strategy meeting, we'll get our specialists in and see how we're going to progress this. Because at this point, we couldn't say that there's been an act of violence within the house just now.
I got a phone call from a hospital in Glasgow and just said that Julie never turned up for an appointment today. And at that point, I never thought much of it because I thought there'll be a phone call saying they've got her.
in a
Honest to
couple of
God,
days,
that's
and that
what
was
I
my
thought,
genuine thing.
because
that was
the
just
beauty
Julie.
character or no been
That
there.
was just Julie. So it was. It wasn't.
That was Julie, no phoning me, but she would eventually, you just left the phone, it would be her.
Aye, mum. Quite the thing, as if
As
she'd
if
been on the
nothing
phone
had
the day
happened.
before.
Ken, that's what
Aye.
Julie was like.
Yeah.
The last phone call I got for Julie, she told me that she was moving somebody in, a lodger in. She's thinking of moving this lodger in, and I disagreed with her. I said it was wrong, wasn't for her. But she said, he comes from Pennylee, I know him, he's okay. And I said, I think it's all wrong and that you don't need this. And she says, I'm not going with him. I said, the new. That's the answer again. And she says, it could be my carer. And I thought, oh no, this is getting worse. And she hung up because I disagreed.
Right.
And that's the last time she spoke to her.
You're waking up in the morning and you open your in your eyes, it's normal and everything's alright and that, and then the reality hits you a hard punch right in the side of the head. Basically it does. Everything you thought about the day before runs through your head before the new stuff for this day starts running through your head, and what have I no thought about, as if that could be the answer to it. I'm alright if one car door shuts, if I hear two car doors shutting, that's when I got up to the window. I got look out the window.
Mum constantly in her head is going back to the last chat. Julie'd been in and out of relationships all her life, and I think her mum had thought that she'd maybe just getting herself back on track. And Mum's eyes off the drugs, you know, the best she's ever been, engaging with the family again, the grandson. And then the phone call about the lodger, then that's that contact stopped. And there's been nothing since then. I think they're always going to have the question of, what if I'd maybe went to see her? That's what's really got them.
Morning, folks. Okay, so around the turn of the year, and I don't have anything more specific than that, it is around the turn of the year, Julie becomes involved in a relationship with a male by the name of Andrew Wallace.
What's the last
That's confirmed sighting.
Aldi, Paisley Road West. She's with Boy Wallace.
On the 6th of February, which is the last known sighting, Andrew Wallace sends a text stating that he's going to carry out some form of scam on Julie on the QT LOL. So he's preparing some form of scam on the day that she goes missing.
Same here. This is the boy Andrew Wallace, who was living with the missing person at the time. So this is the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, and uses her card to buy stuff. It could be a top-up for a phone, I don't know. This is Aldi, Paisley Road West. So that's her card, it's a fraudulent transaction he's doing, buying his stuff. So you see him, he just skims it. He's only buying up to a certain amount, so he doesn't have a pin in.
He's interviewed in relation to the frauds, and he makes a no-comment interview. It's a very short interview. Andrew Wallace yesterday appeared on petition at Glasgow Sheriff Court and is remanded in custody in relation to a number of frauds. We've got a short period of time, as you know, to work around what we've physically got. Key time frame is essentially between the 6th of February and up to the 10th of February. Between that time frame, Andrew Wallace attends another male's home address, and he's got scratches to the side of his face and his hands, and he's covered in blood. He provides an explanation that He was near to a roundabout on Govan Road, and he was hit by a truck, hit by the wing mirror of a truck, and he rolled along the side of the truck. But he goes into the bathroom and he washes the blood off himself, his hands, and he looks at him after he's cleaned up. He's got scratches on his face and on his hands. So that's the situation we're faced with right now. We need to basically find her alive or prove that she's dead. One of the two. Mr Wallace is in custody in relation to fraud charges concerning the use of Julie's bank cards. For me, it started the clock ticking. I have to look very carefully at the decisions I'm going to make in relation to Mr Wallace. There's risk, and that risk is to the public by not getting sufficiency of evidence in the right timescales and potentially releasing an individual into the community that you've got concerns about. On first look in that property, it's not obviously a murder scene. We've got some drops of blood which are Julie's. It looks to be smeared, potentially cleaned. For me, that concerns me, and that means that we need to do further significant work at that scene to ascertain what's happened in there.
What number is this? Number 5 for carpet sample 2.
But what we might need to do is, heavy staining there. That shows you the amount of blood that must have been on there. Right, freeze, okay? I'm just going to suspend it just now because we've obviously got blood seeping through the carpet onto the floor, underneath the carpets. Basically, we've lifted part of the carpet from the living room and it's soaked with blood underneath. The blood seeped all the way through, quite a lot of it, so I'm going to grid the living room and lift all the carpets. All right, no worries. All right, I'll catch you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye. Just spoke with the SIO there, just informing them of what we found there, so we're going to continue and try and... We're going to have to lift all the carpets in this house. These are going to go up to Gartcosh, the Mark Enhancement Lab. There'll be a camera directly above, and they'll do the luminol procedure, which will give us a better idea of what we're looking at. So a very interesting development, not one that I was expecting, but nonetheless, we will deal with it.
Luminol is a chemical that is used normally for detecting trace amounts of blood or dilute blood. It's very useful in scenes where there is a suggestion that blood has been cleaned up. It reacts with the haemoglobin in your blood. This gives off a reaction in light, so we do it in darkness. We spray an area, and if there's blood staining present, you'll see a very typical blue-white glow.
Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Yep. Just get our eyes adjust a little second. Okay, we'll start now. The initial results for the luminol was quite shocking, actually. I don't think we expected it.
There's the gun. So there's a footprint there. Do you see that in the middle, everyone? Where the toes are?
You could see someone must have walked around with blood on their feet. It really just showed the extent of how much blood was actually there.
I think they look like drag marks to me.
I think probably the best place to start is just look at the luminol pictures. So, hallway. Pretty powerful stuff. And that's all areas of blood. I've never seen anything like this. Bathroom. Okay, it just gets worse. That one, I think it tells you a story, eh? I think we're as confident as we'll ever really be as to what's actually happened in that location. From here on, Andrew Wallace is now a suspect for murder. We need to have in the back of our minds, we need to nail this on the person who's done this, all right? Because that's as bad as I've seen.
The priorities are, I want to lift the tiles in the bathroom first before we take the bath out. I want to get the side panel off today. Let's have a look at what's under the bath. So we've got to look at the continuous water getting in there. So how far would any potential blood, matter, bone, it could go all the way out. And the wash machine will be the waste pipe. And I really want to have a real good look in that drum. She's met her death in there. And she must have been brutalised in there with that amount of blood.
Police said yesterday they were treating 47-year-old Miss Riley from Govan's death as murder. They were appealing for information about 2 suitcases they say may contain evidence about what happened.
In relation to the suitcase, a witness tells us that Mr. Wallace comes into his house and he's hauling a large suitcase into the flat. And he asks him, what's in the suitcase? And he says to him, it's a deer. I was out in a car with another named person and we hit a deer. So we butchered the deer and the contents of the deer is in the suitcase. My job is to explore that.
My mum was quite ill with like drugs and stuff, so my gran adopted me. Since then I don't really ever remember like being with my mum, it was always my gran. Like, I've just grew up with my gran, that's what I feel. But she would always phone. She would try and be somebody else. And I would talk to my mum behind my gran's back and for weeks and then be like, I'm sorry, Gran, I've been talking to my mum. And that happened a few times because I was always the one that was like, would forgive her for everything. I would always just be like, no, she's my mum, I'm not caring if she's not spoke to me. But then when I had Jax, I felt like my view on it all changed, because when you've got your own way and you think, how can anybody do that? And for a bit I did just resent her. Because I thought I've always just forgave you, I've never really understood it from a mum's point of view. So I think I was quite cold with her the past year or so of her life. I felt off. I wish I never felt like that. I feel like I don't feel as if I've missed out. Like I have, obviously, but I feel so much worse for her. Like, she deserved some normality in life. To be able to go on days out with her grandson and her daughter and stuff, she deserved that. She made big changes. You just want somebody to, you want a phone call to say, like, this is wrong, we're wrong.
Right, folks, before I go on any further, can I just introduce two gentlemen who have very kindly come from the National Crime Agency up here to assist us in our inquiry. These are the most difficult cases. To be clear, since 2000 in Police Scotland there have only been 4 no-body murders, so we're in pretty elevated territory with the inquiry we're working on. So we'll take every bit of advice that we can. Just really want to take 20 minutes to go over the CV photographs with yourself. So I mean, look at that. I think that is that. I don't actually think there's a more powerful photograph. This is all blood here, and we can obviously see it in the floor there as well. So am I right in saying essentially what we're looking at is scratch marks in the bath?
Yeah, there was quite a lot of damage along the bath.
I see the horizontal scores. It looks to me that a possible attack site could be the living room, but finally went to the bathroom.
When you know it's going to get really messy, and it was the easiest place to clear up the bathroom.
Yeah, I think given the marks that are on the bath, which could substantiate if she's been dismembered, the smaller parts, bigger parts, it could be his.
One thing we found from experience is that offenders, when they're faced with the dismemberment aspect, they don't appreciate just how difficult it's going to be to do that.
But if that's taken place, then it's either taken place because it's easy for disposal, or there's an issue around identification.
Quite horrific stuff to go around with a body in a suitcase, or parts in a suitcase, or blood-stained articles in a suitcase. For me, the key, and the key for your work right now, is find me that suitcase.
At the moment, I think we're building 2 scenarios that the disposal is all in one place and one large part of the body. Maybe the head and hands cut off, identification aspects, or whether we're looking at quite a number of small sites, and yeah.
It's horrendous. So this area is what we would call Govan.
Our suspect, is he born and bred round here?
He certainly he's been in this area for a while. For a few years, yeah, and his lifestyle, unfortunately, is drug dealing, so you'll know this area. But you could argue that it wouldn't be the most unnatural thing to see somebody walking down the road with a suitcase. There was an initial cell site assessment done that brought the officers down to this location. So it's an enormous area. So there's lots of kind of open stanks and culverts and things in this sort of area. That is the nearest point of relief, really, isn't it? If he's coming down here and he wants to get rid of that thing, that's the obvious point to go and do it. If you're going to put it in the water. It's amazing how many desolate areas there are in urban areas. You start to go, you could hide something anywhere, couldn't you?
He says roughly 1 week before Drew is in the flat with the suitcase. They leave the flat, and as they open the front door to his flat, which is on the second floor, Drew Wallace is there. Hasn't heard them chapping, but Drew Wallace is just standing there. Apparently they don't speak. Going down the common close, they get to the front door of the common close. Drew Wallace says, "I've murdered a cunt." First thoughts are, why is he telling me this? I don't really know this guy that well. His phrase is, what the fuck's it got to do with me? The next thing that Drew Wallace says is something close to, I need to get rid of a body. He says he might have been trying to get me to help dispose of a body, but he wasn't sure if he was serious and he absolutely didn't want anything to do with it, so they walked away. He said he was stressed, dishevelled, not his self-confident self.
Just going to go over with the verbals again.
So, verbal 1, I've murdered a cunt. The next verbal is something close to, I need to get rid of a body.
He remains a witness. He's told us what he's told us. It's satisfying from an investigative point of view, but you're right now, the only thing you think about is the family. That's the only thing you think about. It's not a sense of euphoria, it's just the family, you know. You've got, at some point in time, we're going to need to go and tell them what we know, so that's the thing that's right at the front of your mind right now.
I'll keep all these. I used to look at them every day. I ken it's all, most of the things you hear in the papers is all rubbish. But, unfortunately, I had to read the rubbish. There she is, front page, with the prince. It's a great picture too. And she was just so vulnerable. She would have opened her arms, it wouldn't have made it who you sent up there and chapped her door. If somebody chapped her door and says, "Hi Julie, I'm here to be your pal and care for you and love you," she would just have done that and put her wee arms out, and which anybody in her wee situation would have seen. The not knowing that is frying my brain. The things I've put in my head that's happened to her. It can't be that bad, it can't be that bad. But it can be. I can't. There she is. There we are. Does it feel real? Miss her bad. So bad, so do. Not a wee face. How could you possibly do that to somebody? I'll miss her all the time, so I will. God love her.
You've plotted the cell IDs for these calls and it's come back with these locations. Well, essentially what we've got is a record of the telephone's movements between certain times. So if that text message is going, that should be over there. The phones generally tell a story because we know that there's a suitcase goes to a witness's flat on the 11th of February. But we also know that he travels to an area that's previously unseen in the inquiry on 2 occasions, Paisley Road West. So essentially what we're able to say is that at one point in time, the suitcase is put in the boot of a car, is taken to the area of my triangle, and we don't see the suitcase ever again. It's an area of shops, there are gardens, there are bins, there's lots of things there that would be of real concern for me.
You just want to start down that side, and I'll get them to start the next street and the next one. Just in case there's anything underneath that. Okay, quite happy with that. We're looking for a tan leather colour suitcase and a Royal Navy blue suitcase is what we're actually looking for just now. And as you can see from the area around here, there's all sorts of stuff discarded in the back courts, from furniture, mattresses, and the search team actually have found 2 black suitcases disposed of and a couple of under the stairs cupboards as well. This is the first sector of what we have looked at in the initial 5 sectors, so there's every possibility that as the search progresses, yeah, we could find what we're actually looking for.
This is my wee book I have used since my sister went missing. I like to keep all my wee notes in it, but I also like to write my sister a wee letter every morning, and my niece. Julie's daughter, we lost her to caught death in 1993. But I like to write them both a wee letter every morning, and then I know I've said to them just exactly what I need to say to them. Not a good day yesterday for me, honey. I just can't get my head around the fact I won't see you again. So unfair. What you had to suffer at the hands of that thing. Mum's wee living room's nearly done. Just the carpet this morning and her unit hopefully built. How have you been since you left us, Hen? Is it better being with your angel daughter and all those other angels? I'm trying so hard to make life be normal, but how can we do that if that thing, who I don't have a name for, won't let us have you, Angel, so we can lay you to rest? How can we not find these suitcases as well, Hen? He knows. So why can't he tell where they are? It could be the closure that could help us, and so much, Mum, too, Hen. We just want to lay you to rest, so please, all my angels and their friends, please help us so you can be at peace with your wee angel girl. I'll speak to you both soon. Keep smiling and shining bright, my diamonds. I love you both so much.
It's obviously my opinion, but this suitcase looks like it's been here less a period of time than everything, all the other rubbish that's sitting about it. There's a lot of stuff in here which is like broken up bits of furniture. There's an old cooker, and this suitcase is pretty much tucked right into the corner. Doesn't look damaged really at all. Absolutely doesn't look like it fits in with its current environment. There's a black bin bag right underneath it, so is that foreign? Does that come with the suitcase as well? It's a decent potential, very similar to the description of the bag that we've been passed by the witnesses. It's old-fashioned, it's navy blue, the dimensions are pretty similar. The witnesses describe it having a handle in the middle. This one matches the description. It's probably like a lot of things in this inquiry. You don't know what you've got until you get it back, you get it analysed.
Sorry folks, this will be quick this morning. The post over at 393 Paisley Road West on Saturday lunchtime, and they found a large blue suitcase. It was the right shape, right size. Campbell and Ali were doing some door-to-door in there, and they happened to notice a very nervous guy who was shaking like a leaf and had actually forgotten they'd put the suitcase out there, so it bottoms out, the bottom line. I think we're all under no illusions that we will unfortunately prove the death of Julie, but let's just not lose mind, focus around. We need to build that picture up before it, because that's the thing that will convict for murder. On the phone that we know he was using on the date in question, at 3:16 hours in the morning, the device carries out a search for fast and effective knife strikes. Then later on that afternoon, killing someone with a knife. And then on the 22nd of February, he searches into the Google Play Store for Anti-Tracker app. His handset's got over 3,000 photographs on it. There's numerous photographs of various types of hunting knives, blood-soaked knives, knives that are clearly used to commit murder, and a picture of a male standing over a clearly dead woman in a domestic setting with a blood-stained knife on the floor. Numerous photographs of suitcases. Looks like he searched for suitcases. There's a picture of a medical procedure which says on it, tibial bone cut with bone saw. But can I tell you, there's not an awful lot of neutral stuff in there. That is pretty much everything you see. There's nothing about Celtic, Partick Thistle or anything else that you and I would consider as being normal. So very, very, very strange and very, very concerning.
Four 287, free to speak. Are you okay to speak?
Go ahead.
4287, I'm currently down at an incident, I don't know if you're aware of it, at Ardshiel Road. A neighbour came out and said to the cops, listen, I think we found what looks like a bone. Would it be possible to arrange for IB to come down for photograph purposes? It's a murder inquiry, so it's kind of urgent, unfortunately.
Intention sort of in the cell is we'll get IB, we'll get this photographed, but it's going to have to get sector.
Yes, get it photographed, get it recovered, get it to the mortuary.
Our idea is a post-mortem.
Aye, that's what we've agreed. Okay, what size is this?
It's about that size.
Does it not look like a bone or a...
Yeah, potentially.
I know.
Kneecap, I don't know.
Aye, okay. Right, okay, I'll need to make couple of phone calls, so I'll need to go on to the media, and I'll need to... I think I need to send Chris down the road. I need to send Chris down the road.
You know, I mean, the reason we found this bit is because all you neighbours have been talking about finding flesh and missing persons.
We could do with getting some DOs here and start champing some doors and doing some door-to-door. So that we can actually even get a confirmation. Have you found anything out your back?
Aye, and let's have a look for now.
And let's have a look. All right? OK? Good plan? Great. Thanks, guys. Chris, how you doing? Can you speak?
Yep.
So the bottom line is, you're going to need to grab a neighbour, Chris, and start heading down to Auchinleck.
Okay.
I want to update the family that before the media starts to get a hold of this, that there's been potential. I'll need to think carefully about the words we're going to use, but I don't want to use the phrase body parts. But there's been items found in garden areas in Govan that are of concern to us. We just need to tell them that before the media started, because there's going to be a lot of forensic activity around about here, and I don't want 2 and 2 to become 9. I just want to make sure that they're aware of that. We're not saying it's Julie at this minute in time, but you know what I'm saying, Chris, yeah?
I know what you're saying, aye.
The pathologist, obviously, when he came into it, but he says, before we even looked and started it, he says it looks suspicious. I think their thinking is, obviously, if somebody came through here, or I think it's more than likely an animal who's picked it up for whatever site and came through here. But if it is her, then the rest is close by.
Obviously, we need to wait in the forensic activity, take every precaution that we can to recover these articles and work out what their origin is and take it from there. But the priority has been in this inquiry, it's always the family, and we need to make sure that the family are looked after. It may not be Julie, and I hope it isn't, but I would hate for them to find out from some other source as opposed to us, so the family have to be my priority at this minute in time.
Well, there's smaller, there's more getting found. There's ones you see further in, potentially quite a lot. However, there's bones there that you or I can't, we might think they're animal bones, but we don't know. There's bones everywhere. There's bones everywhere, mate. It's like a farmyard.
It's destroyed the family. Half of it was strong. I can't eat.
Aye, we're all round. I hope he's happy.
I sit at night myself, that's my time for sitting. And that's when I think about it. Oh. And I'll say, I just wish you'd have listened to me. Don't take him in. It's a bad thing to do. And she seemed happy.
She did.
She would have looked after him. She'd have given him all the money, wouldn't he?
Aye, I know that. If he asked her for
She'd
all
have
the money,
gave him it all.
she wouldn't have hesitated. Near she would. She would have just given him everything.
And no see her ever again. Never ever to see her again. How somebody could do that, I'll never know.
No.
Never know.
Pretty horrific stuff, folks. The article that was found at the pathway of 110 Ardshield Road has been confirmed by the pathologists as a human femur, and DNA from that was confirmed as Julie Riley's leg. I think we can all deduce from that what that actually means. So it's dreadfully sad for the family. In terms of the investigation, as a team, we pull together to get this case the best it can be, so that we get Andrew Wallace through court and get him where he belongs.
It's destroyed my family, and it's never going to get any better. But I'm not letting him take me. He's took my sister. He's not taking me. He's not taking my family. We'll bear him. So we will. We'll have to deal with it harder, but we will. I will. I know I will.
One of the maintenance staff here at Bray Head, he'd observed what he thought to be potentially a human skull in the water.
Right and chopped up, Gran, it's horrible. You just don't want this to be memory, like, you don't want to think of my mum and think of this.
To a certain extent, it all culminates in what's going to happen in the next few hours, and it's not lost on any of us.
Tell me your involvement, if any, in the murder of Julie Riley.
Zero emotion.
I'm now showing you a photograph of remains.
Getting wound up. Yep. Here we go.
I'm starting to get pissed off. Yeah. Just you need a wee rest. You need to get through this. You want a break? No, you go.
My view is that Mr. Wallace's defence will be that Julie committed suicide, but we'll let the jury make their minds up. You need to do the honourable thing, Mr. Wallace. I'd ask you and I'd plead with you. Tell me where Julie is.
But thank you, Linda, thank you very much for phoning. Okay. Right, thanks, Linda. Bye. Why does he have to leave it all that time? Why could he not just have done that in September? Why leave it all that time, all that work to get through the police today, all that work for fucking none? Sorry. Oh. My mum's worried about this for months. I know how long the fucking animal. Sorry, I'm sorry.
You try and detach yourself emotionally from cases. You have to, particularly as a leader, because you have to show your team that you're doing a professional job. But you've got to take it back to why do people join the police? It's ultimately to do the right thing, to do the right thing for our communities, for the people that we encounter, and particularly in the in the homicide world. You're working for the people that can no longer speak, and I know that may sound a bit glib, but you really are. You're genuinely working for people who no longer have a voice, and you're trying to bring some closure and some answers for their families. All right. Julie was a vulnerable woman, but she didn't deserve what happened to her, and her family didn't deserve that. I suspect that it will be quite a stiff sentence today for what's occurred. You ever been in for a sentence before?
Not for a murder.
Can be quite... Can I get you a wee bit? We have done the best that we can to make sure that Mr. Wallace isn't allowed to do this again to some other vulnerable person. It's a rainy Glasgow day. Courts seem to just promote nerves. Nobody likes going to court, no matter how many times you've done it. A tough day for the family. It really will be. Hey mate, see you shortly. Just get you inside. I know, but I'll be 5 minutes.
On behalf of my mum, Julie's family and myself, we would like to take this opportunity to thank Matt Bell and his whole team for the significant work in solving my sister's case and all who helped out with the police. Without them, Andrew Wallace could still be walking our streets to kill again. I hope that if he has a heart, he could now please tell us where he has put my sister and let her come home to be put to rest properly and the dignity she deserves. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Police Scotland acknowledges the sentence imposed today at the High Court in relation to the acts of Mr. Andrew Wallace. First of all, I have to pay dignity to the family of Julie and the way they have dealt with these matters. But quite simply, I need to make an appeal to Mr. Wallace. Despite what's happened today, you need to do the honourable thing, Mr. Wallace. I'd ask you and I plead with you, engage directly with me over the coming days. Tell me where Julie is. Allow me to put efforts in place to recover Julie and to provide peace and dignity to her and her family. Thank you. Glad that's done. What an absolute horror. Oh, yes. Aye, he got hammered there, didn't he? Absolutely hammered. She's done the thing for the communities there, I'll tell you that. He'll be 70 before he's even thought of getting back out the door. He'll not get back out. He'll die in prison. As long as he tells me what he's done with her first.
At the High Court in Glasgow today, the 8th of February 2019,
Lady Ray sentenced Andrew Wallace to life imprisonment with a punishment part of 28 years after the accused pled guilty to the murder of Julie Riley.
The only thing I must say about Lady Ray, did you forget it was Friday afternoon at rush hour? That she was letting us all go?
On sentencing, Lady Ray made the following statement in court. Andrew Wallace, you have pleaded guilty to the murder of a vulnerable, brain-damaged lady who took you into her home. Tragically, it is unclear how you carried out this evil and despicable act because you dismembered her body, and it is unknown where her remains are, except for parts of her legs which were discovered by chance.
The good thing was Lady Ray clocked right away. It was a premeditated, you know. How do you assassinate a stalker and keep your hands clean?
You have significant and serious record for violence, including a conviction for culpable homicide in 1992 when you were sentenced to 10 years detention. You are, in my view, a dangerous man.
With all the people you come across, I've rarely come across someone who is quite as cold.
I think that's it all. But she's got him, which is the main thing. Good girl. Oh, it was scary, see, when he come up these stairs. And he came up as if he stole a bottle of Buckfast for the shop. That's just what I thought anyway. He just stood there, yawning, making himself comfortable. Aye, I felt quite a bit of anger. Probably because I was seeing him for the first time as well, wouldn't have helped matters. But if I thought for 1 minute he would disclose where she is or anything like that, I would go to him. And if he wants me to beg, I would beg. If I thought for a minute begging would make him tell, but with what I witnessed in court, he would laugh at me, begging, rather as tell me where he put her. It's been a big build-up for a whole year, but since I've come back, I'm lost. I don't know what to do with myself, and I don't want that. I don't know what to get up in the morning. I got up in the morning and it's done, but we've no got her, and she's not here.
So after the trial and the court hearing and he was sentenced, the indication was that he wouldn't speak to me at that stage. However, I had recent communication indicating that he would be prepared to speak to me. You have to go and be positive, but positive is probably not the same as being hopeful. I mean, ultimately, it's his right not to get out of his cell. We can't force him. You know, he may wake her up this morning and decide, I don't want to do this, and we might never get to see him. But by at least going and presenting myself at Barlinnie, then we're giving him that opportunity, and we're doing, I think, the right thing for the family. We'll see what he's got to say for himself. I've been in here a few times over the years. 81 Lee Avenue. One of the most famous addresses in Glasgow. Just leave the phones in the car.
Awful weird. This is it now. Look out this window, other to that window, and go out the back with a wee dog. That's my life. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how I'm supposed to go on.
Okay. That was a bit surreal. It's really quite strange meeting somebody that has been the focus of your work for the last 13 months, and for him to answer questions that you would have given your hind teeth for him to answer 10 months ago. It really is quite strange. Hello folks. Firstly, thank you very much for all coming here this afternoon. As we all know, Andrew Wallace was sentenced on the 8th of February for his acts that he did. But in furtherance of that, myself and Stevie went to see Andrew Wallace at Barlinnie Prison today, and he has furnished us with a sufficiency of information that would indicate where Julie's remains currently are. And we've identified an area which, to me, I am never in a million years walking away from until it's dug up. Mr. Wallace drew us an indicative map which indicates the deposition site is just off Paisley Road West, which is one street to the east of where we didn't search. We stopped at Harvey Street. Lawrence Street is the next set of back courts. So, the plan for today in the next couple of days is to recover this as best as we can. Andy, you'll be dealing with the crime scene. Today, I want it tented, I want it stood by.
Hopefully the information's accurate. This inquiry's been one of the most traumatic that a lot of us have worked on, and now at this stage, I think we all want to give the family some peace. That's all we're focused on now. It's been a long journey.
The thing I was saying at the time, we were all desperate to find her, if you understand. Everybody was.
It's a brown leather case or something, was it not?
I know, but
it's too good to be true, isn't it?
Aye. It's been there for a while. You can clearly see it's been there for quite a considerable amount of time. So, aye, no, it does, mate, it does. It's obviously come in here at the dead of night. If it is, truly. Right, cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Right, so, you know the kind of background. He requested Mark Bell to visit him in prison and bring maps. Now, if you look, you'll see a sunken area just straight ahead.
Yep.
That's where he's put a cross on. There's a shovel there, which probably was the one that he may have used. But it's really random. And how did he carry it? How did he get her here? You know? Do you look up there, there's a suitcase in there. It's not the right colour for what we've been told, but I'm not going to exclude that. But we don't know. We don't know how credible he is. So my mission for tonight is to get it tented, 360, video and photographs. We're going to have to be very aware of prying eyes.
Yeah.
But once we get it tented up, we don't need to worry too much. And once we know what we've got in there, then we'll deal with it the way that we'll deal with it. Hopefully she's in there, guys. Just get that double back.
Mark.
Hello, Lynn. How you doing?
Aye, no bad, dear, no bad.
Good, good. Sorry, I've got a location that I'm going to start doing some activity around in relation to recovering Julie. It's an outdoor location in the kind of Cessnock area of Glasgow, which is just next to Govan.
Right.
So I'm going to be doing work around that over the next couple of days. It's just, should you see anything in the press, I'll not be linking it, but obviously it'll not be too difficult for them to work out. It's early days with what we've got, but I'll keep in touch with you over the next couple of days and see.
That's great. Mark, thank you so much for phoning, dear.
All right, I'll speak to you soon.
Speak soon, Mark.
Cheers,
okay.
Lynn. Bye.
Right,
Bye. Okay. That's everybody knows who needs to know.
All right, mate. Right, she's there. We've lifted that grating or mesh I was telling you about, and it's revealed what appears to be the torso. But she's definitely under there, mate. And it's not a nice sight. Aye, good for the family. Give them a bit of fucking peace, you know what I mean? Right, fair enough, mate. What are we thinking, the torso? Torso and the pelvis. That's the anthropologist. All right, buddy. Cheers. Bye-bye.
And the head as well.
Head as well.
So the 5 over.
Right. It's very difficult at this stage to actually say. Certainly you can see the ribcage and you can see the pelvis and you can see the cheekbones and stuff like that. So, but we're going to continue just clearing away. Pathologist is going to be here in about an hour and then we'll take it from there. Hello. So obviously for the 13 months that we've been working together, I've always been honest with you. On Tuesday, Stevie and I met with Mr. Wallace.
Right.
And he gave us an indication of where I may be able to recover Julie. We've carried out, as you're probably aware from what you've seen in the press, we've carried out some work at that site and we've recovered human remains.
Right.
Okay. Obviously, there'll need to be further forensic testing, but being honest, I believe it to be Julie.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, I promise, Mark, I promise. Oh, I've gone, Mum, I've gone. Oh, she's coming home. Oh, Mum, I'm so pleased. Oh, Mum.
Oh, dear.
Oh, Mum, oh, wee Mum.
Oh, I'm so happy, I'm so happy.
Oh, so nice, so nice. Oh, that's what we wanted, wasn't it? That's what we wanted to hear.
Well, you've done 100%. You have, so you started and you finished it. And I know I knew what did I say last night? You said you done 100%, he has. I wanted it to be Julie. And then I was scared you would say it was not.
No.
Oh, dear God.
Okay, so you know, you know, obviously it's what we've all worked to try and get, and the team are delighted.
Aye, oh, they winner.
The team are
There's
delighted.
no room big enough for them all to get in for us to come and say thank you to every
dear
single
God.
one of them, but I promise for the bottom of my hair.
So
I
dear.
promise.
Okay.
I thought it was, I'm glad they've got on, I'm glad I've got. Oh dear.
I joined in 2005. I was 21. My dad said that ever since I was a wee girl, I always talked about joining the police. Watching Silent Witness, Amanda Burton, things like that when I was younger.
Please mind the doors. Doors closing.
I'm from a kind of small village up north and didn't really experience a kind of lot of violence or anything like that growing up. Joining the big city kind of life was quite different. It opened my eyes up to a lot of things.
Floor 12. Doors opening.
I've been on like something like 32 murders in the 4 years. I'm just about to get suited up to go in and I'll take a note of all the details and phone you back if that's okay. It is hard to switch off sometimes. I think especially when you're kind of in the midst of it and you're on it every day and you're trying to go home to family life and you're like, right, I need to switch off, and you know, 1 minute you've been up in a crime scene suit and covered in blood and then the next minute you're going through your home door. None of my family are in the police. They're oblivious and it's a nice way for them to be. They don't know the half of what we have to deal with.
Nicky? How are you? So there's puncture wounds to his body? Like a claw hammer? Aye. Aye, it's interesting about the top, the tracksuit top. It's possible he's been assaulted and then either taken his clothing off or had it taken off him and then been further assaulted. And any obvious weapons? Right, okay. Nicky's had a close look at the body with different lighting. Okay. Nicky's of the view it's perhaps there's more decomposition there than we first thought. We believe we know who it is, and the person that found him is identifying him. However, such are the extent of the injuries, we really need to look for a more formal identification, probably fingerprint.
When we went in, straight away I've observed the deceased sitting with blood pattern coming from above him in the chair, on the ceiling, and extensive facial injuries where his skull was actually caved in. The sergeant described it like possible gunshot wound to his face. To me, it was a clear murder from the outset, that he'd clearly sustained a brutal attack. And potentially, due to the nature of where the blood was and how dry it was, he looked like he'd been there for a number of days and for quite a while as well. So the priorities were for CCTV, house to house, and to try and secure witnesses.
How are we with the occupants on the 11th and 13th floors?
We are all done bar two. All done bar two. Mostly negative statements. I haven't seen anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Have we spoken to the direct above and direct below?
Again, I'm piecing together who is speaking.
But there's no obvious disturbance.
There's nobody speaking a specific disturbance within the last week. It's
Right.
kind of ongoing issues between our deceased and the boy John, and we're just working out exactly who John is.
Right. If I can have it within the hour, that'd be good. We've got everyone accounted for on the 12th floor. Okay. So it's a case of the 11th and 13th floors, just to try and get everyone. I'm keen to get that nailed down tonight before folks start, disappearing or forgetting things. The forensic strategy was progressing, obviously house to house and CCTV, because we don't often get buildings as well covered by cameras. CCTV we won't have access to till 8:30 tomorrow morning. I'll give them another hour or so and then look for an update.
Okay.
Just a waiting game now.
Yep. Yep. One step at a time.
Your main thing is to get the locus secure, so it's to make sure that you've got your cordons in place and to make sure that nobody else goes into that flat. There'd been a witness for that incident who had let himself into the flat, had found the deceased and had obviously let himself back out. So you're thinking DNA aspect, that you need to get him secure, his clothing, his DNA, and you also have to think of, is he potentially a suspect as well? Your mind's going 100 miles an hour, but yeah, your adrenaline gets you going and you just get on with it.
Okay, so looking into the living room, obviously deceased is sitting on the chair closest to the window with his back to the wall.
There's blood spatter on that wall.
Yeah. Right, okay.
Is that blood?
Yeah.
Spatter
yeah.
as well. It's almost the four walls of the house,
Yeah.
4 walls of the room.
Clearly somebody was swinging. It's all over the place. I'm wondering if they've used that hoodie to wipe their hands, because whoever's walking out of there is going to be covered in it.
But certainly, somebody's lost the plot.
No, big time. Absolutely, it's gone way over the top.
Aye.
And the injuries are pretty horrendous, to say the least. See the way the chairs are set up with that ashtray? As if somebody had been sitting on that chair with the ashtray at their feet. So maybe a prize in the ashtray for us.
The blood pattern was immense, like over the ceiling and the wall and behind him. It's probably one of the most violent kind of scenes I've ever been to. Because his injuries were so horrific to his face, there was just no way that he was going to be identifiable facially. You've got to think, is this actually the householder? Is this somebody else? Has the householder killed somebody else? And this is somebody else lying there, so it's all these things going in your head as well. You're trying to find out who he is, and you're also thinking of the family, because you're thinking this is somebody's loved one sitting there. You've got to make sure we've got that evidence secure. I usually do room by room, so I just start kind of within the kind of room area where he's been found initially first. Intel unit are quite interested in bank cards, phones, kind of receipts, anything like that. There's certainly no signs of a disturbance, so there's no upturned tables, there's no signs that there's been kind of any struggle. But certainly where he's been positioned in the chair, it looks like he's been either taken by surprise or he's been overcome by the assault and he's not been able to defend himself, and he's been assaulted on the chair where he's been sitting.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. What we're dealing with today is the suspicious death of Stephen George Wallace. Stephen with a PH. Circumstances yesterday were about 10 to 11 in the morning. A male who resides at Williamsburg Court contacted the police to say that he was concerned as he hadn't seen his friend, the deceased, for a week. Police then start carrying out checks for hospitals, etc. But in the meantime, he lets himself in. When he goes in, he sees a male who he identifies as the deceased sitting in an armchair in the living room. And in his words, it looks as if a blowtorch has been taken to his face. I don't need to tell you, clearly a frenzied, sustained assault with significant violence involved, and it's quite evident that the perpetrator of that assault will be covered in blood or whatever else. There are, I think, 6 external cameras which cover all exits to the building. There are cameras in the common stairwell. There are cameras in both lifts. And there's cameras on the ground floor foyer. However, there aren't cameras on the individual landings. CCTV is absolutely critical in this inquiry, getting that recovered and viewed. The main issue with this investigation at the moment is actually narrowing that timeline in. There's no obvious weapon found within the house. My interpretation of that scene is that the majority of that assault has taken place at or near to that armchair. There's no disturbance as such in the room, there's no tables upset, it is generally untidy. There's nothing to suggest in either the kitchen or the bathroom there's been any attempt to clean up.
It was quite obvious from the moment I entered the living room that there was a lot of blood staining and blood patterns. Initially, my interpretation was you've got 2 sites where the deceased has been struck. One, in my opinion, likely to be him standing up in front of the chair, and secondly, repeated sustained strikes into wet blood whilst he's in the position on the chair. the assailant would have wet blood on their clothing, on their hands, on their shoes. To us as forensic scientists, this is always a positive, because if they do have wet blood on their clothing, they can potentially leave a trail of blood, this being maybe contact stains on items that they come into contact with after having committed the incident.
Who stays here?
Don't know.
And it looks quite recent as well. It doesn't look old. I don't know if you want to phone Intel, John, and see who stays here. Just in case it's a person of interest, and I'll give late shift IB a phone and see if they'll come out. Hiya, pal. We're just coming up to have a wee look at this.
No problem.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I thought. But...
Quite dried in, Nicky.
Yeah.
But it certainly looks
I just thought it did look like blood.
It looks like blood. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Definitely blood.
Okay. Sorry, Wally, Laura, it was just to make you aware of blood that we found on the 13th floor. And it's quite like a kind of concentrated bit of blood on the kind of doormat. It was just to kind of let you know. I didn't know if you'd maybe want to obviously progress inquiries with getting entry to that house, Laura, just to make sure there's obviously nobody within, and to try and make contact with the householder, because it's directly above our deceased flat. It's basically right above him. Okay. Thank you. Bye. 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 Yeah, we need to get in the house and make sure there's nobody injured behind the door or anything. So, especially because we're getting no reply and we've had no contact with that householder since we've been here since Sunday. We did intel checks and we've established who the householder was, and quickly, thankfully, established that per householders it was legitimate blood from an injury that they'd sustained. They had nothing to do with it. Perfectly explainable, and and they were able to account for why that blood had been on the doormat.
Police have launched a murder hunt after the death of a man in Ibrox.
Arrested a 15-year-old boy in connection with a suspicious death in...
Police say a 45-year-old man has been arrested in connection with the death of a man in Dalkeith this afternoon.
There's with 3 other homicides in Scotland. One in Blairgowrie, one in Alloa and one in Dalkeith. It's fairly unprecedented to have 4 apparently unrelated homicides in Scotland in one day. It'll be a challenge to get an inquiry team.
It's a huge responsibility being senior investigating officer in a murder, and that's not a responsibility that I take lightly, but I do consider it a privilege to be able to do that on behalf of a family. morning, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Maxine Martin. I'm a DCI. I'm currently working with the Public Protection Unit. I've been brought out to help with this inquiry just due to the number of CAPBs that are on the go at the moment. Yesterday we had the post-mortem results. Essentially what the pathologists are talking about is he's got multiple linear lacerations about his head, face and shoulders. What they're talking about is some sort of heavy bladed implement. Might be a machete, something similar to that with that sort of weight behind it. In each location where he's been struck by this implement, it's caused either a fracture to the skull or a fracture to the bone, and essentially that's what's killed him. One of our kind of main priorities is to identify any kind of weapon that's been involved in that assault. In terms of the post-mortem as well, yesterday one of the main challenges we had was that the deceased was not able to be identified because of the extent of the injuries to his face and head. It's not possible to carry out a visual identification by a family member. It took us a wee bit of time last night to get fingerprints from him, and we've now managed to establish that he is who we think he is, Stephen Wallace. Now that we've got that confirmed this morning, we'll be getting an appeal out to the media. We need to confirm the date and the circumstances of the last known sighting of the deceased so we can narrow our time parameters. We're still working on the victimology and the lifestyle information. We're wanting to identify all persons that have got a grudge or a motive to harm him.
The first footage that was identified was from the 17th. You can see this is Stephen Wallace coming from Clarence Street. And this is the last footage of Stephen Wallace alive. Is entering the block on the 17th of February. When you look back at it with the knowledge of what subsequently happens to him, yeah, it is. It certainly seems normal. And no obvious issues at this point. Stephen Wallace is last seen alive on the 17th of February. Not seen again after that. His daily behaviours are that he would appear on CCTV footage at least once during a day. His phone records show that his phone's active up until the 18th, and then from the 18th there's no activity.
What I can tell you is that on Sunday the 4th of March, we received a call to attend at an address in Williamsburg Court, which is in Lacey Street in the Seat Hill area of Paisley. Stephen Wallace is a 46-year-old male who stayed at that address, and he was found dead within his home address.
You can even tell it was him. The poor guy just did not stand a chance. It just doesn't kind of comprehend how somebody can have that much violence inside them to sustain repeated blows, not just one blow, but repeated blows to somebody's head. It's just unimaginable. You just can't even think of what would go through your head to be able to do that to somebody.
We're trying to establish who he associated with, places he frequented, and we're trying to gather as much information as we can about his lifestyle. And we're absolutely determined to catch the person that's responsible for this.
This locus is getting secured at the moment.
Who's that?
That is the boy Atkinson. I think he goes by the name John and Adrian, isn't it? So Adrian Atkinson, he goes by the name John. But he knows the deceased. He's like pals with the deceased, so. Through other witnesses, it was quickly revealed that Adrian was an associate of Stephen, and that they did know each other, and that there had been a fallout previously to our incident as well. So, yeah, I think there was very quickly a connection established between them both.
Adrian Atkinson was clearly an associate almost on a daily basis. They're seen together on CCTV footage. This is the 14th, 4 days before the murder. Adrian Atkinson and Stephen Wallace coming down from the floor. They both have flats on floor 12 at Williamsburg. Seem in good spirits, having a laugh and a joke together on the way down in the lift. They were relatively close associates for a number of months prior to the murder. They'll leave the block together, head to a local shop, buy alcohol, and take it back to the flat, Stephen Wallace's flat. Does he seem in good spirits at that point? No issues? And it jumps on 10 minutes or so, they return with their carry out.
He basically speaks to becoming a lot closer to the deceased around about Christmas time. Asked what he'd done together. Apparently they would just watch the telly, sports, talk about football, they'd drink, go to the shops. Described the deceased as good company, just a big quiet, gentle guy, and can't think who would want to do this to him. He was very accommodating, happy to come along.
Because of the amount of blood that was there, we knew the assailant would have a lot of blood on them, potentially on their hands if they've not used any gloves. We were at flat 12-6. Adrian Atkinson's key was flat 12-3, so 3 flats are on one side and 3 are on the other. And you have to go through past the flats to get to his from Stephen's house. There was smeared blood on the door to Adrian Atkinson's flat.
It became quite apparent that essentially you had contact surfaces which had blood on them, which, in my opinion, could well be from an assailant with the deceased wet blood on their hands or on their clothing. The right-hand wall, there was a contact blood smear, and also on the outside of the door handle to flat 12-3 was another contact blood smear. This is a blood stain which is on one of the door frames inside flat 12-3. You can see that this is a much heavier deposit of blood staining, which could be a result of somebody having brushed past the area whilst wet with blood. And this is another blood stain. This was on the living room door. To me, it appeared to potentially have been deposited by somebody's hand. It almost perfectly fits into where my palm or my hand may sit on the door. We DNA profiled all of the blood, and on each occasion, the blood matched the DNA profile of the deceased.
Going right back to the beginning of the billing period, there's daily contact between Adrian Atkinson and the deceased. Every single day, phone calls and text messages. There's a couple of text messages dating back that the deceased has been threatened. So 16:56 on the 6th of January, Stephen Wallace receives a text message from Adrian Atkinson. You're going to be very, very sorry for bringing a lying scumbag. I promise you that. There's spelling mistakes in it, but essentially that's what it means. You've got to be very, very sorry, man. On to the 7th. This is Atkinson to Wallace again. In fact, you better had pray that I don't see you again, you prick, because you'll be very, very sorry. On the 17th of February, just the day before the murder, at 10:43, Wallace contacts Adrian Atkinson. All right, bud, how you doing? Fucking terrible, no fags, fuck all to eat. Same mate, it's torture. I know, it's doing my nutting. So at 10:40, Atkinson contacts Wallace. Are you up?
This footage is from what we now know to be the day of the murder, the 18th of February. It's around about 12:05 in the afternoon. Atkinson's wearing a black Stone Island jacket. He changes his clothes during the day and it kind of becomes apparent from the CCTV footage, but at this point, heading down from his flat. This is Atkinson returning to Williamsburg Court, which would be prior to the murder of Stephen Wallace, we believe. You do see from when he enters the lift, he appears under the influence, certainly. Sways back before entering the lift. But no obvious signs of aggression or anger. Presence of mind to check his reflection in the mirror. Stephen Wallace is still alive at that point. The next footage we have, initially presented as just unusual behaviour. The foot of the stairs to the block, which is the only other way out the block other than the lifts to the front door. We see a male here who's not identifiable initially and exiting the fire escape. He's got a black bomber jacket pulled up over his head and a green bag for life. Seems full of something. Now, as the male that exits the fire escape, as he exits the fire escape, you can see his face. He's identifiable as Adrian Atkinson. Now, he keeps his head covered until he turns the corner and probably believes he's out of CCTV view. The information we have from statements is that the friend and Adrian Atkinson then go to a shop, Paul Padawaga's shop, in Glasgow Road, Paisley, and that's the footage we have here. At no point does he seem out of the ordinary.
The evidence was beginning to build up against Adrian Atkinson. We obtained a statement from a witness who provided information. After Atkinson had been seen on the CCTV footage, he admitted he had in fact murdered Stephen Wallace. I determined that Adrian Atkinson should be declared a suspect.
Right, the plan is, guys, also the development for Operation Answer. So the plan is going to be to go up and effect the arrest of Adrian Atkinson, who's now the suspect, and we're going to take him to Govan Police Office. All right. 5 you go up, the arresting officers are going to be Mo and Ross. It's going to be a Section 1 arrest. It's under suspicion for the murder of Stephen Wallace. Everyone quite clear, got your PPE gear on. Any issues, give us a phone back here and give us an update once you've got a hold of him and are en route to Govan. All right, guys? Good. Aye. Show me the road. Let's do it.
Obviously, you're aware of the extreme levels of violence that were used in the murder of Stephen Wallace. I wasn't prepared to leave it overnight, so as soon as I had him declared a suspect, I wanted him in police custody so that he didn't have an opportunity to commit any further crimes of violence against anybody else.
Just need to be on our toes.
I had to consider the various tactical options that are available to arrest Atkinson. I considered whether a public order or firearms response was appropriate.
Just turn it around and come back down.
I arranged for officers to attend at the front and back door of the premises in case he made an attempt to escape.
We maybe keep one here to keep a wee eye in case he sneaks at the back, in case we can't get in. Just kind of watch in case he comes out of that wall or something. Cheers.
It is a big thing that I'm asking them to do, and it's not something that I take lightly.
The police. Where are you off to?
Nowhere.
There's been a few developments, all right, and inquiries. This may or may not come as a shock. I'm arresting you under Section 1 of the Criminal Justice Scotland Act 2016 for murder. You're not obliged to say anything, but anything you do say will be noted and may be used in evidence. Do you understand that?
Well, aye.
Adrian, we're going to be taking you in the back of our car. I take it you're not going to be doing anything silly. Adrian, our car's just round the side, okay? So is your bag out there?
Aye.
Shahid.
Just confirm your name for me, please, sir.
Adrian John Atkinson.
The suspected offence? Murder.
There is good reason for keeping you in custody under Section 7 of the Criminal Justice Scotland Act 2016. The reason you're being kept in custody is an offence of murder and is to facilitate police interview. And you can be detained up to a maximum of 12 hours. In some circumstances, it may be necessary for you to be kept in custody for up to 24 hours without charge. Do you have any comments to make?
No.
When we first examined Stephen Wallace's house, obviously there was a lot of blood within his house. So initially you would think that there would be good forensic opportunities in that. However, when we examined that blood, what we found was all of that blood was Stephen Wallace's blood. So what that told us was that the perpetrator hadn't been injured while carrying out the assault. But it didn't actually take us forward in terms of identifying the person responsible. What was more significant was the blood that we found at Adrian Atkinson's flat. There was a fingerprint, or what appeared to be a fingerprint in blood, on the front door of his flat. and there was some blood around the door lock. And as it transpired, that turned out to be Stephen Wallace's blood. We found 11 spots of blood throughout his house, and 6 of them were from Stephen Wallace, and they were in quite significant locations. So again, that was really important in terms of the evidence available against Adrian Atkinson. I think the work really just starts after the arrest. At that point, we've got sufficient evidence available to arrest and charge Atkinson and to put him to court. However, what we've got to do is we've got to make sure that we've got sufficient evidence available so that we can secure his remand and his full committal in respect of the charge. And that's where the work really begins. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm sure everyone will have seen the updates. We had some quite significant developments in the inquiry. We changed Adrian Atkinson's status. He was officially declared a suspect in the investigation, and we deployed teams to try and trace him. And he was arrested on suspicion for the murder and taken to Govan Police Office. So we've still got postal searches to do of Atkinson's flat and his van today. So it'll be quite interesting to see if we get anything back from that.
This is in relation to the murder of Stephen Wallace at Williamsburg Court. So he was brutally murdered, we reckon, Sunday the 18th of February. We managed to kind of get the body recovered from the house, and a male was arrested, Adrian Atkinson. Adrian lives in 12.3, our locus is 12.6. I think a lot of folk think, yeah, somebody's arrested and that's it, it's down tools and that's kind of everything done, but no, absolutely not. You've got to think of ahead of the court case, and you've got to make sure you're going to do justice for this family and make sure you get every bit of evidence possible to make sure you've got a secure and tight case for court. You just have to focus and you just have to think, well, we just need to get to the bottom of this, of what's happened, and find out why he's done this to him. We've not found any weapons. I'll show you his injuries. The pathologist is saying it's consistent with blunt force trauma caused by a machete-style kind of hammer, axe. But you'll see the kind of trauma he's sustained with his head. It's been pretty brutal. So as you can see, there's heavily kind of blood staining all kind of around the armchair, all up the walls and all on the ceiling. But it is quite dry now. It'll just be full suits, full PPE gear, guys, for going in, just for your own kind of safety and protection as well. And just to see if we can find any potential weapon. But yeah, no, if there's anything, I'm going to come up with you guys anyway. We'll get suited and booted in. If there's anything, then just ask me when we're there.
No worries.
All righty. All righty, no bother.
He was compliant, absolutely no issues whatsoever. He has already been interviewed as a witness in this inquiry. And he was described by the interviewing officers as cool, calm and collected. In actual fact, at that stage, they said that he showed absolutely no signs of nerves or anything like that at all. He was able to provide an account of his whereabouts, and he commits in his initial statement that he never uses a stairwell, he always uses a lift. He says he did use it on one occasion, and that was because there was a power cut. There wasn't a power cut on the 18th,
Okay.
because we can see other people on the lift in the
Yeah.
CCTV. There's going to be key witness statements getting taken this morning, so we'll break after stage 2, we'll review it, and then we'll go back in. We're going to take F8 out front of you, alright, so maybe a wee bit of time. You're right, we're going to take it out front of you, okay? Just back up, please. Right, just take it over your wrist. Out for interview.
Okay, that's you from Steve Atkinson.
Just need a seat, Adrian, far end, please. What's your name, please?
Adrian John Atkinson.
And your home address, please?
12-3 Williamsbrook Court, Paisley.
Thank you. Are you working just now?
No,
You don't have an occupation?
I'm painting a decorator.
You're a painter decorator?
Aye.
Okay. Adrian, tell me in as much detail as possible your involvement in the murder of Stephen Wallace.
No comment.
You're friends with Stephen Wallace. Have been for a long time. You see him every day. A very violent attack that happened to Stephen. Yeah? You're nodding your head.
No comment.
You know it was a violent attack.
There was a lot of blood in Stephen's flat. A lot of blood. Multiple blows. He took to the head. Using something sharp, something heavy. That'd been a lot of blood on the person that done that. Is there any reason why Stephen's blood might be in your flat?
No comment.
The interview is the opportunity for the accused to give an explanation for anything or to provide anything that might be exculpatory. And if they fail to provide that, then we go with the evidence that we've got.
We've got to show you some CCTV footage. And a statement that you provided to the police. You says that you always use the lift.
You're wearing a distinctive Stone Island, dark Stone Island jacket. You'll see the Stone Island badge on the arm. Appears to be a pair of blue jeans.
There's a blue Stone Island jacket taken out your house. The person that recovered it had gave his opinion that it looks as if it had been recently washed. Have you recently washed that?
No comment.
What were you washing off the jacket?
No comment.
Were you washing blood off the jacket?
Do you know who that is that just walked out there?
No comment.
Looks like you with your other jacket on.
No comment.
Black jacket with orange lining.
There's an absolute blatant attempt to try and hide who you are. You pull your jacket over your head, you're carrying a bag, and you go away for a period of about 3 hours. Satisfied you've done what you've done with that bag? Were you trying to get rid of something?
No comment.
Were you trying to get rid of a weapon that you used?
No comment.
Clothing that you were wearing?
No comment.
We never recovered a weapon, so I called up the support unit. There was a team of 6 of them, and they basically went through that house top to bottom for me again as well. And they were like, Nikki, 100%, there's no weapon here, there's nothing. So then you're thinking, well, he's taken that away and he's disposed of that. So you're thinking where. Unfortunately, we never did recover the weapon.
We'll just phone update the boss here a moment. Hiya, how you getting on? Aye, no, we're on a break just now anyway. He's just been put back into his cell. He's just been notified that his detention period has been extended and his lawyer didn't put up any objections to that. No comment throughout. Certain smirking, no signs of remorse, no shaking at all by the situation. No, nothing at all. No, it's right there, isn't it? He's quite staring, he's quite happy to sit and stare right through you and no comment, you know. No intimidated at all by the fact that he's sitting as a murder suspect. Incredible.
Adrian Atkinson, just out the blue, turns to her and says, I know you don't like violence, however I've done that Stephen in, I've killed him. He then produces a mobile phone from his pocket and she says it's basically a picture of, as she describes it, can't identify the person, but clearly that person is very badly injured or dead.
We obtained a statement from a witness that Atkinson had showed them an image on his mobile phone. And when she described the image on that mobile phone, it contained some specialist knowledge in relation to the injuries that Stephen Wallace had. So that was quite significant evidence in the case.
She describes the kind of Celtic top, or green and white top, and as what she says is a red face. She says at that point she's in total shock, doesn't understand how that's come about or why that would happen. She just describes him as he's absolutely nuts, and at this point she thinks, I need to get out of here. At that point she says Adrian Atkinson turns to her and says, you will be back, you better not tell anybody, as she walks out the door.
So this is the first one, right? With the download, this isn't the actual capture, this is just when he's accessed it. Right,
well, it's on the phone.
It's on the phone. We've got a few. I mean, he's took a few separate angles and he's moved round, so there's a kind of more frontal view. This is what you would see with the time and date stamp, and it'll have like longitude, latitude.
Right, okay.
I'm actually surprised it's still there, to be honest, because usually they delete them.
How long is it going to take you to get through looking at all them?
Well, it's to get to page 27. It's took me about an hour, so I'll just continue with.
Okay.
Definitely fresh, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's what she's talking about, the red face as well,
Definitely.
which is very
As
different
per-
from what he was like when we found him.
As per the statements, yeah.
It's difficult to understand Atkinson and that image on his mobile phone. There are still things that I come across that I do get shocked and surprised by, and I'm glad that I still get shocked and surprised by what I encounter, because I think that shows that I'm still human and that I've not desensitised to what I see.
Nice big gentle guy, that's how you described him in your statement. We sit together, we watch the football, we have a drink. Sure, pal. I've done him in. That's what you say. You might says, I've killed him. Do you remember that?
No comment.
And you take your phone out your pocket and you show a picture. Who was that picture?
No comment.
Why were you showing him a picture on your phone?
No comment.
I've done him in, you says. Who are we talking about?
No comment.
You show them a picture of a guy who's that covered in blood they can't identify who he is. That was Stephen Wallace, wasn't it?
How do you feel when you think about your pal dead, murdered?
No comment.
You get anything to say about it?
No comment.
Any remorse?
No comment.
Feel bad about it?
No comment.
Up until this point, you've been arrested under the suspicion of the murder of Stephen Wallace. You're now officially arrested and you're now an officially accused person. On the 18th of February 2018, at flat 12-6 Williamsborough Court, Lacey Street in Paisley, Adrian John Atkinson did assault Stephen Wallace and did strike him multiple times to the head and body with a heavy bladed or sharp-edged article, and you did murder him. Do you want to make any reply to that charge?
Unfortunately, in some cases we never really understand the motive behind it, and this is probably one of those cases. There were various suggestions put forward that could be the motive for the murder, but we don't know for sure. One of the theories that was explored was that the murder was in retribution for a vandalism that Stephen Wallace had carried out at an associate's address, and obviously the levels of violence don't equate to punishment for a vandalism. Another theory that was put forward was just over a minor fallout where he had looked at him the wrong way. But to be honest, to this day we still don't really know what the motive was for the murder.
Change of status, yeah.
Change of status,
What's
yep.
your name, sir? To Adrian John Atkinson.
Was not officially accused, now an officially accused person.
Certainly, I was probably a lot more naive, maybe the word, when I first joined. You didn't really think there was people like that out there, and I don't maybe trust a lot of folk as much as I maybe trusted before. I think you're more sceptical and you are more aware of things going on.
Charge time?
14:54.
There's a lot of satisfaction to be gained from identifying somebody that's responsible for a horrific crime such as this and seeing justice served. And I now know that Adrian Atkinson is in prison for a very long time, and he'll not have the opportunity to do that to anyone else in future. And I hope the family takes some satisfaction from that.
To read in respect to the incident concerning a brother, Paul Matheson, who was murdered coming up for nearly 3 weeks ago now. What I would ask at the conclusion of the statement, if you could respect her wishes, she's not going to be answering any questions. I will do one-to-one interviews following this, but there will be a short prepared statement that Amanda's going to read out to you.
Paul was an average young man, but so special to us. He was a brother, a nephew, an uncle, a grandson and a partner. But more importantly, Paul was a father. And his murder has left a 12-year-old boy without a dad. We are devastated at what has happened. No one ever thinks that this will happen to them. We thought that too, and we're still desperately trying to make sense of it. I just want to ask people, please, if you have any information about the crime or the person responsible. Imagine if you were in our position, you would do everything that you could to find out why your loved one has been taken away. So please help us and contact the police.
A few moments if you want to take some photographs. Sure. Thank you very much.
Just with the heat.
Yep.
Okay. Right. Okay, so we're 3 weeks on. Are we any closer to establishing a motive or why this happened?
Today, as you saw, Amanda quite courageously has come out and given a statement. What I really want to do is reawaken the consciousness of the public in relation to this murder. Tomorrow will be the 3rd week anniversary of when Paul went out for drinks in the town centre of Renfrew, and whilst making his way home, was the victim of a brutal assault. An act of violence which rendered Paul unconscious. However, the assailant didn't stop at that point and carried out a sustained and rather brutal attack on Paul as he lay in the street yards from his home address.
Is there anything to suggest so far whether he knew the person or whether it was a random attack?
He may well have known his attacker, but it's too early to say. We can't rule out that this is just a random meeting in the street. At this stage, we're trying to establish what that motive is. What's happened, what's brought those two together? Has it been something that's taken place earlier in the evening in Renfrew, in one of the pubs? We need to piece together why this took place. So today I'm appealing for anybody to reflect. Were they out in Renfrew that night? Do they know Paul Matheson? Did they see him that night? Did they speak to him that night? Anything at all suspicious or anything relative to the murder of Paul Matheson? There might be people sitting that have information regarding this that just sit there because they don't talk to the police or they don't talk to, for whatever given reason. But when they see a grieving relative like that, they think, hold on a minute, that's a liberty. What that guy took that night, you know, it's just a guy walking home from a pub. Nobody deserves that, and no family member deserves that. So that might just prick that wee bit of consciousness that they might say, all right, I'll make that phone call, or I'll approach a cop in the town centre, or whatever. So who knows? It's hard because it really is a courageous thing she's done, Amanda, and hats off. I'm just hoping it bears fruit because of what she's gone through for it.
It was really difficult. I'm not a public speaker, and to think that the person responsible or people that knew the person responsible might have been watching that was almost infuriating, to think that that person is watching you, pleading for them to come forward. And I think because it's so close to home, you analyse everyone in the street. You look at people and think, could it be you? Was it him? It's just, it was horrible to think that that person was out living their lives, knowing what they'd done to Paul and done to our family.
The sister of a man who died after being brutally beaten in a street attack has made a public plea for his attacker to be caught.
Police believe he could have known his attacker and are keen to hear about any arguments Mr. Matheson may have had either that night or before.
We've now found ourselves an individual who is a steward who works at La Luna Rosa, who we now know on the night in question was working outside the restaurant and appears to have seen an argument taking place between two individuals outside the funeral parlour. So those of you that have been to the locus will know that's right at our scene. What he did say, and he was kind of adamant on, that there was something on the right side of his face that was of interest, like an indentation or a mark or a potential scar or indentation on the right side of the face.
He comes in about 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
The bouncer mentions who he believes is the suspect has a mark or a scar on his right cheek, and that fits in with this guy. I'll play the footage on when he leaves. You can see it look like a pair of Nike Air Max that are reflecting in the light that's shining down to it. So you can see the heel and the laces. Very great Nike Air Max. They look like to me.
Right. We need to find out who he is.
Quite an interesting character, to say the least. Got instinct. He's got a lot of questions to answer. Quite a kind of full of bravado, best way to put it. Quite distinctively, he has got a tattoo on the right of his cheek, just kind of on his cheekbone there, which obviously is interesting. He just doesn't lie well with me, I have to say, and I think you would have the same opinion.
He's a solid boy. He's quite happy to walk around in his shorts and that and show his muscles off, you know. So he's been doing mixed martial arts for a number of years. You know, when we seized the clothes, we seized obviously the trainers, and we've seized the jacket. And the jacket is a Montclair padded blue jacket with a broken zip at the front. Now, I don't know if there's anything from the original crime scene manager who said there was any zips lying on the ground or anything like that. I need to double check that.
Just in the last couple of days, we've identified this guy. He may or may not be involved in this, but we're not 100% happy with him is the bottom line.
So the teeth still in the jacket?
Aye, the teeth are on it, it's just the actual fastening that's missing. The zip part's going to be, if you see any of them, obviously we're seizing it, but any sort of zip section, but it's a long shot, we know that, but it's just the SIO's asked if we can give it a look. Right, magic. Okay, well, we'll take a wander down then.
It's been a hugely challenging inquiry at several levels. All the various elements, CCTV, appear to conspire against you more than in your favour. Forensically, it's been truly challenging to recover anything from the scene. In respect to this case, we've been waiting for what the fiscal refers to as just that little breeze that would maybe take us over the line.
Hello. Right, nice one. They have actually found a part of a zip, believe it or not.
The circumstantial evidence that surrounds his movements on the night in question are highly suspicious. His girlfriend, there's a clear inconsistencies in her statement into what happened that night, and both of them have deleted text messages covering the period.
Tell me about your involvement in the murder of Paul Matheson. No comment. We know you sent text messages about the incident round the corner from your house. But when asked in your statements, you don't know anything. Why are you holding back that information? comment. What are you hiding? No comment. You're smirking. There's no part of this interview that's funny. You're concluding this interview at 22:14 hours.
So I caught a glimpse at the end of the corridor when they were taking him through the back, and he's smaller than I thought he was, to be honest. He's quite slightly built. The parade's the platform for all of this, so we'll see how we get on with the parade.
How's it done? I asked him what he wanted the parade to do. He said he wanted the parade to all turn to the left, which they all did. He said he's similar to one of the numbers there. What number? Number 4. Number 4 is the 6'6" guy. I said, how's it similar? He said, body structure and possible height. So he took the big tall guy.
That witness picking him out, that's a million miles away from. He's picked out a guy that's 6'6".
I take it looks doesn't resemble.
Not in any way.
No worries, mate. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
However. When you look at him, he is very slight. Part of the strands was clearly his ability to be able to carry out the attack, knock somebody cold with one punch. It's not looking like him, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, we still need to work around him to eliminate him, but let's start focusing on other individuals. Whoever's responsible has kept it pretty close to the chest because we're getting not a sniff intel-wise. Normally, after this time, the dogs in the street, you're starting to get an idea of what's going on. Nothing.
We were told by the family liaison officers quite early on that we would need to wait for Paul's body to be released because they hadn't caught anyone for the offence. The rules in Scotland, the Procurator Fiscal have to give permission for the body to be released, and the defence have to have an opportunity at a post-mortem, so for that reason Paul's body had to be kept for when they do catch someone, for their right to carry out a post-mortem. Quite early on I started to look into the reasons why we had to wait so long. Why couldn't a post-mortem be carried out by a defence team and be kept on record? And the more research that I'd done, I found out that actually only in Scotland this applied, and in England they had very different rules. So I decided to launch a petition with the Scottish Government to see if we could bring Scotland in line with England, and from then we met with the Lord Advocate and the Justice Minister. Hopefully families won't have to wait as long as we do for their loved ones.
Normally you do get a steady flow of information coming in. Certain people don't want to give you statements, but there's very little coming in about this at all.
It's that old, I'm no talking to the police, I'm no a grass. You've got to kind of appeal to people's better nature, which is the hard thing.
While this person's out there, you know, there is a bit of anxiety in the community.
Yep.
So we need to get this person.
What do you think next?
You've kind of hit a bit of a brick wall then.
Oh, again, eh? We really need to get that phone report. It must be somewhere, eh?
We need to close off every single avenue. It's quite complicated, this. It's not going to be easy. We're not going to get that gold nugget. Oh, great, that's a DNA hit through. It was such and such, your beauty. That's probably not going to happen unless we get the shoes and something comes back forensically. So when you're out speaking to your TIEs, any hint of any negativity, as in fuck off, you're not getting my phone. So we don't take any snash off any of these individuals.
What he's going to do?
We've got Jamie Anderson. For the bit of bother trying to hold him, so we meet him at his lawyer's office at 1 o'clock.
Is this the one in the house that painted windows?
Aye.
For Paisley?
Another log come in over the weekend for Jamie Anderson. Anonymous was phoned in, said Jamie Anderson was responsible. The key is going to be seeing it, see his demeanour and who he is and what he's all about. And then I think his phone's going to be critical as well. Jamie Anderson, we know, was an ex-partner of a female who probably from day one has been really at the centre of this inquiry. We have a motive, potentially. Anderson and Matheson don't appear to know one another, but they have a shared interest in this female. There's information surrounding various texts that have caused animosity. The phone numbers attributed to him were billed, and cell site analysis came back just last week, placing him in Renfrew. It appears he was in contact 40 minutes before the murder. He was in Discord drunks, and he fits the general description of the assailant.
Some jobs are easier than others, that you get the footage straight away and you've got an actual named suspect, so really you're following their movements. That's a bit easy. This has been quite trying because I think we had about 500 hours of footage to go through. It's just a methodical way of looking through it and then logging it all. It's a slow process, but it's been worthwhile today. We found the movements of the suspect in a chemist earlier on the night in question. But you're looking for that wee break in any inquiry, and then had a look at that, and then by chance just found him on the day in question. Tall, thin, fits the description of the suspect. It worked out quite well, and it gave us a description of the clothing. And I think when you look, it does turn to a kind of profile, and you see quite distinctive kind of shape of the head. I think you can see that on the actual footage just before the incident. You can, when before it moves out the door there, you'll see there's a kind of grey flashes and there's like a grey tick as well. You can see it's like a Nike tick there. It's like kind of the grey from that as well, which is quite distinctive. So I'm certainly pleased with that.
Cracking work. Clearly it comes down to, it sounds repetitive and cliched, but it is just painstakingly sitting reviewing CCTV hour after hour. It's a murder investigation, it's a challenging one, and it's all the better when we solve it, to be honest.
We've been told he's violent, he will kick off, but hopefully with police presence he will not today. Seize what we need to seize and leave. I've got to ram it, I will ram at the door if I need to. There's no intelligence to say there's any dogs or any other person in that house other than he is a violent individual. All right.
There has been some sort of dispute between Jamie Anderson and Paul Matheson. There's been tension between the two of them.
Right, was he at her house the night in question?
She's adamant that he wasn't, but he was up there that weekend. She said that Jamie Anderson, well, he was at my door, but I didn't let him in.
Do you believe her?
You could see she was shiting herself, she was really anxious.
Seized up to 31 items, which Majority of that's clothing. On one of them there is blood present.
Footwear, what have we got?
We have 3 pairs of Nikes. One a dark black Nike Air Max. He was very nervous. My opinion is he thought today was the day.
There's a lot going on today. On top of arresting somebody for murder, we've got a lot of kind of irons in the fire still.
The plan will still be this morning with uniform assistance to go to Anderson's address. I need to just remind you all, make sure you got your PPE stuff with you and your airwaves, okay? A lot of hard work to get at this stage, so let's say one last, probably a long day at this one, and see how we go on, all right? Right, thanks folks.
Procurator Fiscal's view is that we're just short of having a sufficiency of evidence to charge Jamie Anderson with murder. So there's quite a lot riding on the other work we're doing today, the biology, and that information will be getting fed into me as the day goes on.
Jamie, so please can you come to the door? We're going to ram at the door. If you don't come to the door, please come to the door.
Hey Jamie, put your hands in front of you, right? I'll right there, alright?
If we don't get the additional bit of evidence we need, then I suppose the doomsday scenario today is we need to release Jamie Anderson. A lot riding on today.
Officers of Police Scotland have been investigating the murder of Paul Matheson since he was attacked on the 14th of January 2018. You've been arrested today and you've been treated as a suspect for his murder. Do you understand that?
I understand what you're saying.
Were you in Renfrew on Saturday the 13th of January?
No comment.
We know that phone that you've been using was in Renfrew Town Centre just before the attack on Paul Matheson.
No comment.
I'm going to just show you some CCTV footage here, alright? You see it okay? This person here. Is that you?
No comment.
Well, I would say sitting here in front of you that that is you on that camera.
It is you, isn't it?
Okay. This footage here, that's Paul Matheson. And that's the person that attacked him. His injuries were so severe that he lay in the street for 45 minutes, unable to get help for himself before somebody found him. You got anything to say about that?
No emotion. Not once has he ever looked at me and went, what are you talking about?
Another witness that we've spoke to, she's told us in her statements that she was in a relationship with you and that you were engaged till it ended in 2016. We know that you were at her flat Friday the 12th and Saturday the 13th of January trying to make up with her. That puts you not only in Renfrew but right at the scene of this murder. We searched her house. During that search, there was a number of items. One of the items was a notebook that was taken from your bedside cabinet. So I'm going to read some entries for the notebook, alright? I'm a glass half full, an optimist and positive kind of guy. I went from love and marriage to betrayal and dishonoured in 3.5 seconds. I'd have done anything for her, mostly already kinda did. I miss her, even though she never had my back, or even gave a flying fuck about me when I really needed her the most. I'm heartbroken, feel as though I'm missing a part of my body and soul. It's soul destroying when I think of her. Is she alright? Does she even think or feel like I'm feeling? Does she hate me? Has someone said something to her? I'm astounded and utterly fucking lost as to why she's went from soulmate to being sick of me in one day. What the fuck, motherfucker? Did you write that?
No comment.
I think it's fair to say, reading your wee diary, that you loved her. Is that be right? You still love her?
Were you jealous of her and Paul Matheson's relationship? Did it make you angry?
You said that you'd have done anything for her. Protect her. For other guys.
I take it you understand how serious this matter is that we're talking to you about.
No comment.
It's a murder, alright? Paul Matheson is dead. There's no coming back. That's it. He's dead, and that's the harsh reality of it. Is he dead because of something you did?
Hey Jamie, we're going to have a wee break, okay?
The time is 17:50 hours. Temporarily stop the interview with Jamie Anderson. Comfort break.
Yeah, I'm just going to phone biology. Marie, how you doing? It's Grant MacLeod. I just got your email there. And you're happy to corroborate that? I mean, that's outstanding. I'm really pleased with that. That work will be enough for us to charge him, so I am absolutely delighted, and I can't thank you enough. Okay, speak soon, thank you. Bye. Got him. Result. DNA on the trainer. There's 3 other profiles in that mixed profile, one of which could be Paul Matheson, and what they're saying is it's 1.8 million to 1 against it being anywhere else. I'm so, you can't understand how pleased I am for that. Can you give Karen the update? Because she'll need to amend her plan.
I've done it.
You've done it? Okay, outstanding.
How come Paul Matheson's DNA is on your trainer?
No comment.
It speaks for itself. Can you explain it?
No comment.
Last chance, Jamie.
Did you murder Paul Matheson?
No comment.
That's somebody's boy. Somebody's father.
Jamie, I must now inform you that you're under arrest for murder. You do not need to say anything in answer to the charge, but anything you do say will be recorded and noted and may be used in evidence.
There's been a few twists and turns. It's the hardest, the most complex inquiry I've been involved in terms of piecing it together. So yeah, really satisfying, I think, but it's more for the family. I'm not suggesting it'll give them closure. I wouldn't be. You can't say that, but it's a step forward for them as well. So.
Ti'n good, bro. We haven't managed to fund for a headstone yet, so we just got a name plaque. Just a wee candle about his smile. I do feel angry often, but I just think it doesn't achieve anything, does it? It's never going to bring him back. So I don't want to lower myself to feel that way when it's not going to change what has happened. It's not going to bring Paul back. He was my only sibling. Having lost my mum and dad, he's all that I had, really. So I miss everything about him.
Yeah, I know. We had a minor issue with it last month, to be honest. Trials are never a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination, especially in a case as challenging as this. It's a horrible time for the families, appreciate that. Try not to get involved, but you wouldn't be human if you didn't think about the family element to this and them trying to bring some kind of justice first and then closure to that family. The strength of the evidence is good, but it's the strength of the witnesses that have to provide that evidence. Sometimes it's not that great. And that is where my nervousness lies. It's going to be a difficult one, this.
We were dreading the trial for so long, and when they told us that Jamie had pled guilty to culpable homicide, it was almost a kick in the gut for us. They did explain to us that it was very complex and it could go either way. And there was lots of witnesses who were intoxicated that night and things that could be picked apart by the defence. The worry was that he could have walked free from that, and obviously that's something that we wouldn't be able to live with. I can't help but think every day, what if we had taken to trial? Would it have been a different decision? Would he have been charged with murder and be serving double the sentence that he's going to be serving now?
There are factors involved in it that's meant it was always going to be really difficult. Yeah, it would have been nice to put our case before the court and have it proven. But him to admit it, yeah, it was satisfying professionally. Emotionally, it's always quite strong as well, especially when you're such a lovely family. You know, they deserved, as all families do in these kind of instances, they deserve answers. I'll go run through what I can, and ultimately I can show you some of the footage. It is extremely distressing.
It was always something I said, if they show it in court, I don't want to watch it because I didn't want to see it. But yeah, I do want to watch that. I just think that if I don't watch it now, I'll always wonder.
Two individuals you see now they come together chatting, however. As you can see then, there's multiple blows. He used his foot first and then continuous punches.
He knows from that first punch to Paul's out.
Unfortunately, Paul lay there for 40 minutes till somebody eventually came for him.
Yeah.
Tragic. Had he got medical attention right away, potentially it would have been fine. Unfortunately, nobody saw or heard a thing, if you believe what they tell you. Basically, that's him. When we moved him into suspect status, we got a warrant for his addresses. We seized his clothing and his training shoes. And the training shoes proved to be the turning point. So your classic Nike training shoe, the right shoe as well, under the stitching. So you imagine the stitching, when they take it all apart, was trace DNA of Paul, likely caused by kicking him. We could then, that was enough for Jamie Anderson to put his hands up and say, it was me, I'll plead guilty to culpable homicide. I didn't mean to kill him, but it was me.
I beg to differ now, having seen that.
Yeah.
So he's in the right place. So, like I say, it's not pleasant. I appreciate that, and but it was just to explain how we went from murder to culpable homicide. It was always going to be incredibly difficult to prosecute that case, but it was an outstanding result in getting him to plead guilty, to admitting he was the guy that was in that picture.
Maybe Paul can rest in peace now, you know.
We're so grateful.
No, like I say, there's no massive story. He just went out for a pint. A couple of minutes either side, he would have missed Jamie Anderson. All right. Thanks for coming in.
No, thank you so much.
I still think attacking an unconscious man should be murder. And I hope that every day he thinks and feels guilty for what he's done.